Good morning, beloved child of God. As the sun stretches over the horizon and breathes light into the earth, let your soul be the first to rise in surrender. The world may wait to fill your mind with demands, but before you let anything in, let God in. This moment is sacred, not because of what's ahead, but because of who you meet with first, the one who made this day. In stillness, in reverence, come before the Lord with open hands and a willing heart. There is something holy about beginning the day, not with movement, but with silence, with attention to the voice that speaks deeper than the noise. You may not yet know what today will bring, but you already know the one who holds it. He has gone before you, preparing mercy, weaving grace into the minutes that haven't happened yet. So come to him, not just with words, but with stillness that listens. Come to him with the confidence of a child who is deeply loved. Before your feet touch the ground, before your thoughts wander to to-do lists and worries, whisper this prayer: Jesus, I put you first. That one sentence can rearrange everything, because when Christ is your starting point, peace becomes your foundation. And when peace is your foundation, no storm can shake what is eternal. You were never created to carry today's weight alone. The Father waits to walk with you, not from behind but beside, hand in hand. The world will offer you urgency, but the Spirit offers you order. Choose his order. Choose first things first. Let your first breath be praise, not panic. Let your first thought be trust, not trouble. Let your first move be prayer, not performance. This is the way of those who know their God. They begin with him, they rise with him, they move with him. This is how heaven touches earth in your ordinary morning. The enemy would love for you to forget to pray. He would love for you to reach for your phone before your Bible, to fill your ears with noise before your soul hears God. But not today. Today you rise in awareness. Today you say with your whole being, I will not start without him. Your strength is not found in how early you wake up or how much you accomplish by noon. Your strength is hidden in the one who meets you in the secret place. When you bow your head, heaven stands at attention. When you call his name, angels move in response. When you seek his kingdom first, all things are added, not always immediately but always faithfully. So come boldly. You feel the weight of responsibilities, deadlines, fears that whisper you're already behind. But the Lord says, be still and know that I am God. The world may rush, but you don't have to. You are not late when you're walking in step with your Creator. You are right on time when you're walking in grace. You feel rushed. You feel like life demands so much before you've even taken a breath. But God is saying, begin with me, and I will take care of what you cannot control. Let this be your cry today. Write in the comments, Jesus, I put you first. And tell us, what do you need prayer for today? Let us join you, stand with you, and believe with you. Was it 3 minutes in? 10 minutes in? When did you feel the peace start to enter? Tell us. Then come back again tomorrow. And again. This is where the sacred begins. God sees the battle you're walking into today. The emotional weight, the decisions, the people who need more from you than you feel able to give. And yet he also sees the outcome. He sees victory. He sees growth. He sees you walking through it and not being destroyed by it. So bring your heart, fragile as it is, and lay it in his hands. Bring your plans, incomplete and uncertain, and lay them at his throne. Bring your hopes, even the quiet ones you're afraid to say out loud, and lift them to the one who knows them already. You are seen, not just in the shining parts of your life, but in the quiet cracks. You are held, not because you're strong, but because he. Let today not be just another Monday, another ordinary morning. Let it be a turning point. Let it be the day you chose to seek first his kingdom in action. Not just theory. Let it be the day you rewrote the rhythm of your life around presence, not pressure. Let this morning become the altar where everything changed. He is not far. He is closer than breath. You do not need to prove anything, just come. Come with a humble spirit and a willing heart. Come and let prayer lead the way. The morning is your invitation to choose alignment over anxiety. Alignment with his will, his pace, his purpose for you today. There will be noise, but his voice is still speaking. There will be tasks, but none more important than this sacred beginning. Always pray first, and if you fall today, fall into grace. If you forget, start again. God does not tally your silence. He treasures your return. This is a relationship, not a ritual. You are not behind, you are beloved. Let the rhythm of this morning be one of surrender, not striving. As the world begins to stir, set your heart on the one who never sleeps, the keeper of your soul. God doesn't require performance from you today, only presence. He's not impressed by perfection, but he is moved by the honest whisper, "Lord, I need you." Before the pressure builds, come and sit at his feet. There is power in your pause. There is clarity in your stillness. There is healing in your silence with him. And there is favor that flows not from haste, but from holy focus. When you start with prayer, you're not being passive, you're preparing the atmosphere for victory. Jesus himself, the Son of God, would rise early to pray. Before the crowds pressed in, before the miracles flowed, he withdrew to be with the Father. If he needed that communion, how much more do we? Not because God demands it, but because our souls crave it. Something eternal awakens in us when we begin with him. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not too broken to pray. Prayer isn't for the strong, it's the breath of the dependent. And the more dependent you become, the more empowered you actually are. Let prayer become the door through which you re-enter peace. Let it be the shelter from chaos, the anchor in uncertainty, and the compass when the way ahead is unclear. There is no right way to begin, only a real way. Just show up. Just be still long enough to let the noise drain from your soul. The Lord longs to be gracious to you. He waits for you in the quiet. You don't have to be eloquent or emotional, just honest. Lord, here I am. Lead me. That is enough. He knows what you're carrying. He knows what you've been hiding. He knows what you're trying to fix in your own strength. And still, he invites you to rest in him. There is no guilt in starting again. There is only grace. Some mornings feel light, others feel heavy. Some days begin with joy, others with dread. But every morning is holy when you meet God first. Every day becomes divine when your first breath reaches heaven. This is how battles are won before they begin. Seek him not out of fear, but out of love. Not out of habit, but out of hunger. Not because someone told you to, but because your soul recognizes its source. He is your water in the desert. He is your light at dawn. In the secret place, your strength is restored. In the quiet, your vision is realigned. In prayer, your heart is made whole again. You will not stumble through this day without direction. You will walk with divine clarity. You will not walk alone. Let your posture today be one of expectancy. God is already in the details. He is going ahead of you to settle what's uncertain. He is already calming the conversations you fear, softening the hearts you will meet. He is aligning outcomes that you cannot yet see. You may not feel it yet. That's okay. Faith moves before feelings, and prayer is not about emotions. It's about positioning. You're positioning yourself under the shadow of the Almighty, and in that shadow, no weapon formed against you can prosper. If you're tired, let him lift you. If you're afraid, let him strengthen you. If you're unsure, let him speak. The shepherd doesn't scold the sheep, he gathers them gently. He leads them beside still waters and restores their soul. You were never meant to wake up and carry the day alone. You were created to commune, created to converse with the one who knows your every thought and still chooses you daily. So choose him back this morning. Choose him first. Heaven leans close when you pray, not because of the words you use, but because of the heart that seeks. The Father is not moved by polished prayers, but by surrendered spirits. The early morning becomes holy ground when your knees touch the earth and your heart touches heaven. In that quiet space, eternity breathes into the ordinary. You are not just starting your day, you are stepping into divine purpose. Let prayer unclutter your mind. Let it drain out the lies that tried to plant themselves in the soil of your thoughts overnight. Let truth take root instead. The truth that you are chosen, covered and called. The truth that you are not walking into battle unarmed, but wrapped in favor and filled with power. The truth that God goes before you and nothing can stand against his will. Even Jesus, facing death, sought the Father first in Gethsemane. He bowed, not because he was weak, but because he was surrendered. "Not my will, but yours be done," wasn't a cry of defeat, it was a declaration of trust. And that same trust is available to you each morning. When you pray first, you are not avoiding life. You are aligning with life's true source. You're not meant to guess your way through the day. You're meant to be guided. You're not meant to figure it out alone. The Holy Spirit was given to you not just for moments of crisis, but for moments like this. Quiet, gentle, sacred. Let Him lead. The world will try to make you chase answers before you seek presence. But answers without God's presence often lead to anxiety. Peace doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. Prayer is where surrender starts. Prayer is where clarity is born. Every time you choose to seek God before seeking solutions, you're choosing trust over turmoil. You're choosing kingdom over chaos. You're choosing to believe that His ways are higher, His thoughts deeper, and His timing perfect. Even when you don't see the next step, He does, and He's already clearing the way. You are not behind. You are becoming. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. God is not rushing you. He is refining you. The pressure you feel to hurry is not His voice. His voice calls you to stillness, and in stillness to strength. Start your day with the awareness that you are not working for peace. You're walking with the Prince of Peace. You are not trying to create your own safety. You're dwelling in the shelter of the Most High. You're not hoping for strength. You are clothed in, and it all begins with a simple prayer. Lord, I put you first. That prayer is more than words, it's placement. It places God above your emotions, above your schedule, above your needs. It places your trust in the eternal rather than the temporary. It sets the atmosphere of your day to receive rather than strive. And heaven always responds to that posture. The battles you don't even know you'll face today, God has already seen them. The interruptions, the unexpected detours, the heavy conversations, none of it catches Him off guard. He is never surprised and He is never unprepared. So lean on Him now. Ask for wisdom now before the need feels urgent. When you begin with prayer, you plant seeds in the soil of your day. Seeds of faith, seeds of peace, seeds of divine encounters. Don't underestimate what 5 minutes of prayer can produce in 12 hours of life. What begins in secret will bear fruit in public. What begins in surrender will end in glory. You don't need to feel holy to begin. You just need to be willing. You don't need perfect words, just an open spirit. You don't need to know the future. Just trust the one who holds it. Let that trust flow into your breath. Let that breath become prayer. God is not asking you to do more. He's asking you to come close. He's not waiting with a checklist. He's waiting with compassion. So slow your heart. Still your soul. Begin with Him. Every morning holds a spiritual invitation. Before the world asks anything of you, God asks you to sit with Him. Not to impress Him, but to know Him. Not to fix everything, but to fix your gaze. This is the place where pressure turns to peace and chaos bows before clarity. You may feel unprepared for what this day will ask of you, but prayer prepares what your strength cannot. There are doors you don't know you'll need to walk through, and God is already unlocking them. There are conversations that need courage, and He is already filling your heart. There are moments you'll be tempted to respond in fear, but prayer lays a foundation of faith. The first few minutes with Him ripple into every hour that followed. You don't need a perfect track record to begin. You need a present heart. God isn't looking for performance, just presence. He honors the one who comes in weakness, not the one who waits to feel strong. He pours grace into empty hands and breathes strength into surrendered souls. That's what it means to always pray first, to run to the Father, not when you're ready, but when you're real. The world tells you to be self-sufficient, but heaven teaches you to be spirit-led. When you begin in your own power, you run out by noon. But when you begin in His, you are carried through what you thought would crush you. You are not the source. You are the vessel. Let the source fill you now. It's okay if you wake up with heaviness. Just don't carry it alone. God wants your burdens more than you realize. He invites your fears not to magnify them, but to silence them in His love. You don't need to hide what hurts, you need to hand it over. And prayer is how you do that. In a world that values urgency, God values intimacy. When you slow down to pray, you're telling your soul what matters most. You're saying, I will not be led by noise today. I will be led by presence. That choice creates sacred space in your spirit. It reminds you whose you are and why you're here. You were created for communion, created to hear His whisper before the world shouts, created to walk in rhythm with heaven, not in reaction to earth. That rhythm begins here, in this moment, in this breath, this pause, this prayer. Let His word guide your first thoughts, not headlines, not notifications, not fear. Open Scripture before you open social media. Open your mouth to worship before you speak frustration. Align your spirit before you align your schedule. If you feel scattered, come gather at His feet. If you feel unsure, come and be reminded who holds the map. You don't need every step. You just need the one who walks with you. There is wisdom available in this moment that can save you hours of confusion later, and it's waiting in prayer. Start this day with the faith that He sees you. He's not distant. He's not too busy. He's not disappointed. He's delighted that you came. Even 5 minutes of quiet can shift everything. You'll breathe differently. You'll speak differently. You'll face challenges with a grace that didn't come from you. That's the reward of praying first. So don't rush out of this space too soon. Let your heart be still just a little longer. Let heaven write today's headlines in your soul before the world writes its own. You don't need all the answers. You need His presence, and His presence is here. There is a quiet strength that forms in you when you choose prayer before pressure. It's the kind of strength the world can't measure. One built on surrender, not striving. When you start your day with God, you're telling the storm who holds the sea. You're placing the weight of your day on shoulders wide enough to carry eternity. And when He carries it, you don't have to. God isn't waiting for a perfect moment. He is waiting for this one, the messy one, the tired one, the one that feels too weak to try. He meets you in the middle of it, not once you're clean and ready. Prayer isn't the final thing, it's the first thing. It's not the rescue after you've fallen, it's the protection that keeps you standing. He longs to fill the empty spaces in your soul before the world has a chance to claim them. He wants to be the voice you hear before the noise begins, not for His sake, but for yours. Because when He speaks first, every other voice loses power. When He fills you first, nothing else can claim the throne of your peace. Some days you won't feel like praying, but pray anyway. Feelings are waves, they rise and fall, but faith is the anchor. The deepest transformation often begins in the prayers you don't feel, but still choose to offer. And God honors those whispers in the dark. Your first moments with Him are not wasted. They're weapons. They're oil for the lamps you will carry through the hours ahead. When the unexpected comes, and it will, you won't be shaken, because you've already been with the... Do not underestimate what is happening in the silence. Do not belittle the sacredness of just showing up. In your stillness, the Spirit moves. In your weakness, grace is multiplied. In your surrender, strength is born. Jesus began every major decision in prayer, not because He needed permission, but because He valued alignment. He wasn't reactive, He was rooted. His power came not from hurry, but from holy connection. And that same connection is available to you every single morning. Let prayer shape your attitude today. Let it soften what is hard in you. Let it quiet what is loud in you. Let it heal what is torn in you. You do not have to go into the world the same way you woke up. Prayer transforms. You may not hear thunder from heaven or feel fire on your skin, but something happens every time you pray. Atmospheres shift. Anxiety loses its grip. Angels are dispatched, and your heart learns how to rest again. Don't wait for a crisis to cry out. Don't wait for the ache to become unbearable. Meet God early. Meet Him often. Let the consistency of your presence become the foundation of your peace. There is a covering over your day when you begin in His presence. A protection not visible to the eye but known in the Spirit. You'll find that what once drained you no longer touches you. What once confused you now rolls off like rain. Because prayer armored your soul. This is how we walk in victory, by starting on our knees. This is how we carry peace, by first laying everything down. This is how we show the world our strength, by showing God our need. It's not weakness, it's wisdom, and it's the wisdom that sets your path straight. Let your first words be His name. Let your first breath be an offering. Let your first thought be gratitude. Let your first move be surrender. And let the rest of your day flow from that holy place. God is not measuring how long you pray. He's meeting you in how deeply you mean it. One whispered sentence from a sincere heart can part spiritual waters. You don't need lofty words, you need a longing spirit. When you speak to Him first, you're saying, Lord, I trust you more than I trust myself. And that trust creates the space for heaven to move. Prayer in the morning is not a routine, it's a lifeline. It reminds your spirit that you are not alone. It clears away yesterday's fog so that today's clarity can rise. It silences the fears that try to wake up with you. And it invites peace before performance has a chance to define your worth. You're not starting your day from a place of deficit, you're starting from divine access. Access to wisdom that sees beyond your schedule. Access to strength that doesn't run dry. By noon, access to love that never leaves, no matter how messy your day becomes. That access is renewed each morning. Prayer unlocks it. You've been called to walk in purpose today. But you cannot walk in purpose if you haven't paused for presence. The world will hand you a script of busyness and distraction. But God offers a different script, one of peace, guidance, and holy alignment. Choose His script before the world writes your story for you. The Holy Spirit is already whispering over your day. Let me lead. He sees the conversations, the decisions, the intersections ahead. He knows where your strength will run low and where His power will be most needed. He is not an emergency call. He is the constant companion, and He responds best to the soul who starts with Him. Before stress calls your name, let your praise rise. Before anxiety claims your thoughts, let gratitude overflow. Before doubt speaks, let Scripture resound. There's a sound that sets the rhythm of your day. Let it be the sound of prayer, a sound heaven recognizes and hell fears. Prayer sets your posture. It bends the knees that pride would rather keep standing. It softens the heart before the world hardens it. It lifts the soul before the burdens get heavy. It's where the inside gets stronger than the outside. If you're in a season of uncertainty, begin with the one who sees all things. He won't always show you the full map, but He will light the next step. And that's all you need today. Just the next right step, guided by the Spirit. Prayer keeps your feet steady when the ground feels unsure. It reminds you that you don't need all the answers to walk in obedience. The morning is your sacred reset. Yesterday's failures do not define you today. God's mercies are new, not recycled, but brand new for this very hour. There's fresh grace waiting, and it arrives when you say, Lord, I give this day to you. What a beautiful exchange, your burdens for His peace, your plans for His purpose. There are battles you'll never have to fight simply because you prayed first. Things that could have gone wrong will quietly fall into place. Conversations that could have turned toxic will be filled with grace. Decisions you might have rushed will be led by wisdom. That's what prayer does. It shifts the invisible before you even step into the visible. Let prayer soften what's rigid in your soul. Let it stretch your faith beyond what feels comfortable. Let it remind you that God's presence is not something you earn, it's something you enter. And you're invited every single morning to enter freely and boldly. Don't hesitate, the door is already open. You are not weak for needing prayer. You are wise. You are not wasting time by sitting in stillness. You are storing strength. You are clothing yourself in what the world cannot offer, the armor of intimacy. And when you rise from prayer, rise knowing this. You are not walking out alone. Heaven walks with you. Favor follows you. Grace surrounds you. And it all began with choosing to seek Him first. There is something unshakable about a soul that starts the day with God. No matter what comes, interruptions, delays, disappointments, peace remains when it was planted early. That peace doesn't depend on circumstances, but on who you've sat with first. It becomes a shield when words fail and a comfort when people fall short. Prayer builds that kind of peace, one quiet morning at a time. The moments you spend with God before the day begins are not lost. They are multiplied. They return to you in wisdom when you don't know what to say. They rise in you as calm when others bring chaos. They steady your hands when work feels overwhelming. They echo in your heart as a still, soft voice when the noise is loudest. When you pray first, you're not escaping reality. You're stepping into the truest reality there is. Heaven becomes more real than your to-do list. The eternal outweighs the temporary. You stop rushing and start listening. You stop controlling and start trusting. There's a difference between being productive and being led. The world will tell you to move fast, chase success, and prove your worth. But the Spirit calls you to move wisely, wait patiently, and walk humbly. He has a rhythm, a divine cadence, and prayer tunes your heart to it. When you follow that rhythm, you begin to move with divine timing. You will face choices today, some big, some small. You don't need to make every decision alone. Invite the Lord into every choice, every path, every yes and no. Ask Him to speak before you speak. Ask Him to lead before you lead. Prayer isn't just for mornings like this. Peaceful, quiet, reflective. It's also for mornings when you oversleep, feel overwhelmed, or wake up in grief. On those days, a whisper is still welcome. Jesus, help me is still a prayer that reaches heaven. God doesn't wait for you to be composed. He meets you where you are. You might not realize how much weight you carry until you lay it down. And once you do, your soul breathes again. That's the gift of prayer, the great release. God doesn't just listen. He lifts. He exchanges heaviness for hope. Don't be afraid to linger a little longer in His presence. Not because He demands it, but because your soul needs it. The longer you sit with Him, the clearer things become. Not always instantly, but certainly eternally. His perspective slowly becomes yours. You were never meant to live this life in your own wisdom. You were meant to draw daily from His. You were meant to wake with a need and find it met in His nearness. You were meant to rise in humility and walk in heaven's authority. And that begins by kneeling before you stand. Even when everything feels like it's falling apart, prayer reminds you who holds it all together. Even when you feel unseen, prayer places you in the gaze of the one who never looks away. Even when you feel behind, prayer pulls you back into divine timing. There's no moment too broken to pray, no heart too heavy to lift its eyes. God doesn't just hear your words, He hears your silence. He hears what you're trying to say, but can't find the strength to express. And even then, He responds with tenderness. He doesn't need paragraphs, just presence, just you, just now, just as you are. Start this day with assurance. The Lord is near, not just watching from afar, but dwelling within. Not just waiting to see how you handle things, but offering help, wisdom, and strength. All He asks is that you turn to Him first, not perfectly, just faithfully. This day belongs to God, and so do you. Before you were busy, you were beloved. Before you were overwhelmed, you were overshadowed by grace. Let that truth go before you into every room, every call, every challenge. You started with Him, and that changes everything. Every morning, heaven leans close to listen for your voice. Not because God needs reminding of who you are, but because He delights in communion with you. The Creator of the universe awaits the sound of your surrender. He treasures your first breath, your whispered thankfulness, your quiet devotion. That's how important you are to Him. You may not feel worthy to pray some mornings. You may carry guilt, regret, or a deep sadness that tries to steal your voice. But prayer was never meant for the flawless. It was meant for the fragile. God hears the stammering heart as clearly as the eloquent tongue. He welcomes the broken more quickly than the proud. To begin with God is to begin from strength. Even when you feel weak, it's to let His Spirit stand where your own confidence cannot. Prayer doesn't pretend life is easy. It anchors you in truth when it's not. It replaces control with trust, fear with peace, and doubt with promises. And each time you return to Him, your roots go deeper. You were not made to rise in panic, but in purpose. Not made to scroll before you've knelt, or to worry before you've worshipped. The order matters, because what you begin with will shape what follows. Prayer is the alignment that turns chaos into clarity. It's the sacred pause before the sacred walk, There's beauty in repetition when your heart means it. Coming back again and again doesn't bore God, it blesses Him. He honors your consistency more than your eloquence. He sees the soul that keeps choosing Him, even when it's hard, and He pours grace on every effort made toward Him. The people around you may never see the war you fight to begin your day. With prayer, they may not know the distractions you battle, the fatigue you face, or the emotions you wrestle. But God sees every sacrifice. He counts every moment you give Him as holy, and He rewards those who seek Him in secret. Let your prayer today be simple. Lord, I am yours. Let that be the banner over your day. You don't need to know what's coming when you know who goes with you. And when you start by anchoring your identity in Him, nothing can steal your peace. You become unshakable not because you're strong, but because you're surrendered. The presence of God doesn't come in noise. It comes in nearness, not in performance, but in posture. Your posture of surrender becomes a gate for His glory. Your stillness becomes a sanctuary, and your quiet yes echoes louder in heaven than you'll ever know. There is healing in your first words to God, a cleansing of the heart, a soothing of the mind. What felt too heavy to carry becomes light in His presence. What confused you becomes clear, and what felt urgent fades in the presence of the eternal. God wants to speak before you move, not after. He wants to guide before you get lost. His Spirit longs to counsel you before the world tries to confuse you. This is why the morning matters. This is why first prayers open heavenly doors. Don't be surprised when things flow smoother, when peace lasts longer, and when decisions come easier. It's not luck, it's the fruit of alignment. It's the reward of beginning with the Spirit. It's the blessing that follows obedience, and it's available to you every morning you say, Lord, I'm listening. The best gift you can give your day is the presence of God before anything else. Before people, before work, before screens, before plans. Let Him be the first touch point, the first voice, the first thought. Let prayer be not your obligation, but your desire. Because once you taste that peace, you'll crave it again and again. You are not praying into empty space. You are speaking to the God who bends to listen, the one who numbers your hairs and knows your needs before you say a word, the one who has never missed a single moment of your life. And He's waiting, not with judgment, but with joy. Sometimes the weight you carry isn't from today. It's the leftovers of yesterday, worries that didn't resolve overnight. Try to rise with the sun, but when you begin with prayer, you release what you were never meant to carry. You hand it over to the one who never sleeps, and in doing so, you reclaim your peace. Prayer isn't about changing God's mind. It's about letting Him change yours. It's about laying your thoughts before Him and receiving His in return. It's where your fear gives way to faith and your frustration bends to wisdom. You don't leave prayer the same. Something always shifts, even if subtly, and that shift may be the miracle you didn't know you needed. You may think your morning doesn't have enough time for prayer, but what if 5 minutes with God saves you from 5 hours of anxiety? What if one sincere moment realigns your entire schedule with His purpose? God doesn't ask for time. He asks for attention. And where your attention goes, your spirit follows. When the enemy wants to disrupt your day, he'll try to distract your prayer. He knows how powerful a morning surrendered to God truly is. That's why resistance often rises right when you decide to pray, but push through. Even a few sacred words can silence 1,000 lies. Your voice in the morning isn't small. It echoes in eternity. Heaven hears. Angels are assigned. Strength is released. God doesn't overlook your morning prayer. He honors it. He builds a fortress around your day with every word you lift. And that fortress stands even when you don't see it. Let prayer be where your emotions settle. Let it be the space where anger softens and sadness finds companionship. Let it be the place where you stop pretending and start feeling safely, fully, honestly. God can handle what you don't want others to see. In prayer, there is no shame, only welcome. Even when your prayers feel repetitive, they are still powerful. Your heart doesn't lose value because it repeats its cries. Some wounds require daily surrender, not one-time speeches. Some victories are won one whispered prayer at a time. God is not bored by your consistency. He is moved by it. There's something holy about giving God your first words. Before the world teaches you what to think, let His word remind you who you are. Before others tell you what to do, let His Spirit guide you. Before the demands flood in, let His peace flood you. That's how you live rooted, not reactive. Prayer isn't always a moment of breakthrough. Sometimes it's a slow building of resilience. Some mornings won't feel magical. Some prayers may feel dry. But faith isn't about feeling. It's about staying connected, even when it's quiet. Your future self will thank you for praying today, for taking the time to listen before speaking, to seek before moving. Each morning of prayer becomes a brick in the foundation of a stronger, clearer, calmer life. A life not ruled by chaos but guided by peace. A life where the Spirit leads and fear loses its grip. God sees the sacrifices you make to spend time with Him, the alarms you set earlier, the distractions you push aside. He sees the quiet hunger in your soul, and He always responds to hunger with presence. There are mornings you may not know what to pray. That's okay. Let your breath be the prayer. Let your longing be the offering. The Spirit interprets what the heart cannot say. You are not a servant begging for crumbs. You are a child waking up to a feast of mercy, of wisdom, of comfort, of guidance. And your seat at the table is already set. You don't have to earn your place. Just show up, and when you do, heaven welcomes you home. There is a hush in the early morning that feels like heaven leaning in. Before the noise and before the demands, there is a sacred stillness where God whispers. In that whisper, strength is restored. In that silence, burdens begin to dissolve. And in that moment, everything else can wait. When you pray first, you are not escaping life. You are preparing for it. You are stepping into divine readiness. You are clothing yourself in unseen armor. You are sharpening your spirit before the battles of the day arise. You are choosing connection over control. Prayer opens the windows of the soul. It lets light in where doubt once lived. It clears the fog that anxiety tried to bring. And it reminds your heart that you are never alone, even when your mind forgets. This is the miracle of returning to God each day. Not every prayer needs to be long to be powerful. Some mornings, all your soul can say is help. And in heaven's ears, that one word rings louder than 1,000 eloquent sentences. Because God doesn't need perfection, He desires sincerity, and even one honest breath lifted to Him is sacred. God meets you where you are, not where you think you should be. You don't have to fix yourself before approaching Him. Prayer is the place where healing begins, not the prize for already being healed. He welcomes your mess, your fatigue, your fear, because His grace is not afraid of your humanity. The more you pray first, the more you realize how much your soul needed it. You begin to crave it, not out of routine, but out of relationship. Your heart begins to notice when it hasn't paused. Your mind begins to long for peace before it spirals. That's what happens when prayer becomes your priority. There's something holy about putting God before goals. Before the calendar fills and responsibilities press in, you've chosen to align, and when your alignment is right, everything else finds its place. Not always easily, but divinely. That is the wisdom prayer builds within you. Sometimes you'll pray and the day will still be hard, but you'll be stronger. Sometimes the mountain won't move, but your perspective will. Sometimes nothing around you will change, but everything within you will shift. And that's how prayer prepares you. Don't let guilt keep you from prayer. Don't let yesterday's silence make you feel unworthy to speak today. There is fresh mercy every morning waiting to cover you. The door is still open, and your place in His presence is still secure. God is not counting how many mornings you've missed. He's rejoicing in the one you gave Him today. He's not measuring your worth by consistency but by hunger. He draws near to the soul that desires Him, and He responds to the one who shows up, even if trembling. That's the heart of the Father. The most powerful leaders are the ones who kneel first. The strongest warriors are the ones who surrender early. The wisest voices are shaped in the quiet. Before influence, there is intimacy. Before power, there is presence. Prayer creates room for the Spirit to speak when your own thoughts are too loud. It allows you to notice what you would otherwise overlook. It invites you to step out of your assumptions and into God's understanding. It's not passive, it's active surrender, and that surrender opens invisible doors. As the sun rises, let your soul rise with it. Not in fear, but in faith. Let your first thoughts be lifted, not dragged. Let your burdens be placed in stronger hands. And let your day be framed by grace, not pressure. This is the gift of beginning with prayer. God sees you before your alarm even rings. He watches over you through the night and delights when your eyes open with awareness of Him. The moment your soul stirs, heaven is already rejoicing over your life. Not because of your achievements, but because of your presence in His presence. He loves you before you speak, before you move, before you try to earn anything. To begin with prayer is to begin with confidence, even when everything around you feels uncertain. It's not about having the perfect words, it's about showing up with a willing heart. When you pray first, you silence every other voice that tries to define you. You let truth in before the lies have a chance to settle. You declare with your actions that God is still Lord over your morning. Sometimes your prayer is a shout, sometimes a whisper, and sometimes just the breath between them. Whatever it is, God honors the effort. He collects every word as treasure and weaves His response through your day in ways you might not recognize at first. He speaks in timing, in redirection, in quiet courage that grows throughout your day. That is the mystery of divine conversation. Even when you feel nothing, your spirit is still being fed. Prayer is not a performance, it's a connection. And just like daily nourishment for your body, your soul gains strength even when you don't feel immediate result. You build spiritual endurance, trust, and stability through that faithful return. God honors what the world overlooks, your quiet faithfulness. You don't need a mountaintop moment for your prayer to matter. Your kitchen table can be holy ground. Your drive to work can become a sanctuary. The Spirit of God goes where He's invited and then includes the ordinary places of your life. Don't underestimate the sacred power of humble beginnings. What you say first in the day becomes your anchor. If you begin with gratitude, your heart stays lighter. If you begin with surrender, your spirit walks freer. If you begin with God, you carry heaven into every hallway, every phone call, every decision. This is how prayer shapes the unseen outcomes. You don't pray because life is easy. You pray because it's not. You don't pray because you're strong. You pray because He is. Prayer is where you exchange your weakness for His strength, where your worry melts into His wisdom, where your smallness is met by His majesty. There will be mornings when you don't want to pray, when life feels too heavy, or your faith feels too small. But even on those days, showing up matters. A prayer through tears is still a prayer. A silent heart turned toward God still touches heaven, and the courage to whisper His name when all else is dark is a victory in itself. You were not designed to carry the weight of a full day without Him. That's why He invites you to cast your cares before you take a single step, to empty your anxieties before filling your calendar, to listen before speaking, to pause before running, because in stillness He strengthens you. God doesn't rush your prayers. He isn't bothered by your pauses or your stumbles. He draws close to your authenticity, not your perfection. When you come to Him sincerely, you've already come correctly, and His Spirit meets you not with pressure but peace. If your morning feels cluttered, start with just one deep breath and whisper His name. Let everything else pause as heaven leans in. You don't need music, a plan, or an audience, just a heart that's willing. And when that heart turns toward Him, the kingdom of God responds every time. Your prayers aren't just for today. They echo into eternity. They plant seeds you may not see bloom yet. They align generations to blessings you cannot yet imagine. They carry authority beyond what your eyes can measure. This is why your first words of the day matter. Your time with God each morning is not lost. It's invested. In that sacred space, you become more than prepared. You become transformed, and from that transformation, you influence the world without even trying. Because people recognize peace when they see it, and peace is the fruit of present. Start again tomorrow, and the day after that, not out of obligation, but out of desire. Because every time you begin with God, He begins something new in you. And the more you come, the more you'll long to stay. That is the quiet wonder of walking with the one who never leaves. When your soul begins its day with prayer, you are not simply hoping for peace. You are choosing it. You are aligning your breath with the breath of God. In the stillness of morning, you begin to see what truly matters. The chaos of the world starts to fade as the voice of heaven becomes clear, and in that clarity your confidence returns. You were never asked to be perfect before entering His presence. God isn't looking for polished words or grand speeches. He's looking for honesty. When your heart whispers the truth, even with trembling lips, He draws near. He does not turn away from your doubts. He draws closer to them, and in that sacred nearness, healing begins. Prayer reorders your priorities without effort. Suddenly, what felt urgent no longer feels important. What felt impossible begins to look like an opportunity for grace. What overwhelmed you yesterday becomes manageable today. This is the recalibration of a soul that has knelt before it has walked. There are burdens you don't even realize you're carrying until prayer brings them into the light. Some weights feel normal, only because you've held them too long. But the moment you speak with God, He begins lifting what was never yours to keep. He trades your heaviness for His gentleness, and that trade renews your strength. Every morning is a spiritual battlefield, even when the day feels calm. The enemy doesn't wait until noon to discourage you. He begins before your feet touch the floor. But when you pray first, you raise a standard. You remind darkness that you are not walking alone, and you invite heaven to fight for you. Let prayer be the rhythm your life dances to. Let it set the pace, the tone, the atmosphere of your heart. Don't allow the news, your inbox, or your emotions to set the mood. Give God the first sound, and everything else will find its rightful place. Because the tone of your day is decided in your first moments. You are not behind. You are not too late. The enemy loves to whisper false timelines and unholy pressure. But when you pray, time bends to eternity, and what looked like delay becomes divine preparation. The Lord is not just your Savior, He is your shepherd, and shepherds rise early. They watch the land before the sheep awaken. They guide before danger comes. So when you rise and pray, you're not just seeking peace, you're following protection. Let every small act of prayer be seen as a victory. A whispered, "God help me," in the bathroom mirror. A pause before opening your phone. A blessing over your coffee. A heart turned slightly toward heaven. These are the unseen battles you win when you pray first. You are not meant to begin your day in your own strength. That's why it feels heavy when you try. But prayer is the great exchange. Your weariness for His power, your confusion for His clarity. You don't need to fake strength when you have access to divine presence. He will uphold you when you cannot lift yourself. Some prayers you'll feel deeply, others you'll pray by faith alone. But neither is wasted. Every single one builds intimacy with your Creator. Every moment you choose prayer over panic, peace grows. And peace is the evidence of God's nearness. You may not know what today holds, but prayer reminds you who holds it. Your calendar may be full, but your heart can remain light. Your tasks may multiply, but your mind can stay anchored. Your challenges may rise, but your spirit can remain steady. This is what happens when you pray first. God never rushes your morning prayers. He is not waiting for you to get to the point. He treasures your pauses, your tears, your long silences, because in those spaces He hears the parts of you words can't express. And He answers with more love than you expect. To begin with prayer is to begin with truth. And in a world of noise, that truth becomes your shield. No matter what waits outside your door, prayer reminds you, you are not alone. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, covered, and called. And the one who began the day with you will walk beside you until the end. When you open your heart before anything else, the day begins under heaven's covering. You're no longer navigating alone. You're being led. Each breath of surrender invites divine wisdom to accompany you. Even the smallest steps become meaningful when you've placed them in God's hand. This is the quiet power of praying first. There is something sacred about those who begin in stillness while the world rushes forward. It's not weakness, it's holy wisdom. Those who kneel before they run, walk straighter paths. Those who listen before they speak carry more peace, and those who pause before the pressure find refuge that the world cannot shake. Prayer clears the fog of self-reliance. It loosens the grip of anxiety and softens the sting of shame. In prayer, you are reminded that your identity isn't in what you do, but in whose you are. The Lord calls you beloved before you accomplish a thing. That truth steadies your soul more than any morning routine ever could. There will be days when prayer is easy, and others when it feels dry. But faithfulness isn't built on emotion, it's built on devotion. Every time you choose God over distraction, you are planting seeds of intimacy. Even when the atmosphere feels cold, your spirit grows warmer. God honors that kind of quiet persistence. Do not underestimate how deeply heaven responds to one surrendered heart. Your voice may feel small in your room, but it roars in the throne room of God. Angels are dispatched by your whispers, strongholds are weakened by your worship, and hope begins to rise in places where fear once reigned. When you pray first, you take control of what you let inside. You choose worship over worry. You choose truth over assumption. You choose communion over confusion. And each of those choices begins to shape your day from the inside out. God doesn't need your performance. He desires your presence. He waits for you like a father who loves to hear their child's voice. Even if they stumble over their words, He listens with joy, not judgment. He leans close with affection, not critique. And when you arrive, even uncertain, He wraps you in peace. Sometimes your prayers will change your day. Other times they'll change your heart. That shift matters just as much, because transformed hearts can face the same situations with new strength. Renewed minds can see old problems with divine clarity. This is the hidden fruit of a morning spent in His presence. If your thoughts race, bring them to prayer. Let God sort what's real from what's imagined. Let Him breathe peace where fear has camped too long. Let Him quiet the noise that keeps trying to rise. You don't have to filter it, just bring. Each time you pray first, you train your soul to seek light before shadow. You develop a new rhythm that resists the pull of chaos. You become sensitive to spiritual shifts and more grounded in your identity. You learn to wait, to trust, to discern, and that discernment protects you in ways logic never could. God never tires of your return. Whether it's your first prayer or your 1,000th, He meets it with the same open arms. He doesn't measure your past silence, He celebrates your present seeking. You are welcomed back every time as if you never left. That's the mercy of morning prayer. Prayer lifts the weight before the world adds more. It makes space for grace before pressure crowds in. It unclenches your hands so you can receive. It bends your knees so your heart can rise. It changes how you carry what the day brings. Every morning is a new chance to grow closer to God. Yesterday's mistakes don't disqualify today's devotion. Today holds mercy, favor, and unexpected joy. But only prayer clears your vision enough to see it. That's why you begin here. And when the world says there's no time, let your soul declare there's no better time than now. Let prayer interrupt your rush. Let it cut through the noise. Let it build a still place inside you that cannot be shaken. Because the one who starts with God always walks with Him. There's a peace that can only be found before the noise begins. A quiet strength that rises when your heart bends low in surrender. When you seek God first, you don't just get answers, you get alignment. And in alignment, even unanswered questions lose their power to shake you. Because God becomes greater than the need to understand. Your morning prayer is more than words. It's a posture, a sacred stance of humility that welcomes divine order. It says, "Lord, before I carry anything, I give it to you." It invites clarity where confusion tried to reign, and it unlocks peace that the world cannot counterfeit. Every soul has its weight, and yours is no exception. But when you pray, you stop dragging it alone. You invite God into your burdens, and He begins lifting in ways that surprise you. He carries the parts too heavy for your hands, and He strengthens you for the pieces that remain. When you begin with prayer, your emotions don't get the first word. The voice of truth rises before fear finds its footing. God reminds you who you are before the world tells you otherwise. He silences shame before it echoes in your thoughts, and He arms you with grace before you step into the day. There is beauty in consistency, even when it feels small, a quiet power in those who pray when no one is watching. These are the hidden warriors of the faith, unseen but never forgotten. Their strength is not in their volume but in their devotion, and heaven honors every silent beginning. You don't have to feel ready to pray, you only have to be willing. God meets willingness with power. He breathes fire into the coldest of hearts. He restores rhythm where you've only known restlessness. And He turns your sighs into sacred songs. The enemy trembles when you choose prayer over panic, because that choice denies him access to your spirit. It cuts off fear's oxygen before it spreads. It reminds your soul of who sits on the throne, and it restores your vision to see what the flesh cannot. Sometimes all you have is a whisper, and that's enough. God isn't impressed by eloquence, He's moved by sincerity. Single, honest prayer carries more power than an entire day of striving, because God responds not to performance, but to presence. And your presence with Him changes everything. Let prayer be the doorway, not the afterthought, the threshold into peace, not the fallback after pressure. You are not designed to walk blindly into battle. You are meant to begin with strategy, and prayer is the strategy of heaven. It's the wisdom of warriors and the shield of saints. When you pray first, you give the Spirit room to lead, and where the Spirit leads, there is liberty. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom within it. A calm mind, a steady heart, a light step. This is how the Spirit prepares those who seek Him. Don't wait until you feel spiritual to start prayer, is how you get there. Don't wait until the house is quiet. The heart can be quiet even in the noise. Prayer is not about perfect conditions, but about persistence. And every time you begin, heaven bends low to meet you. God never ignores a seeking soul. Let your prayer in the morning water the garden of your entire day. Let it soften the soil, clear the weeds, and invite new growth. Don't let yesterday's drought stop today's rain. The Spirit brings renewal with every sunrise, and your prayer opens the windows of your soul to receive it. He hears what you don't say. He sees what you're not ready to speak. Even your silence is understood by the One who made your heart. So trust that showing up, even wordless, is worship. Your presence is enough for His presence to come near. The secret to a powerful day isn't in your schedule, it's in your surrender. It's not in how much you can accomplish, but how deeply you stay connected. So before the to-do list, before the tension, before the noise, stop, pray, begin with God, and the rest will follow differently. There is something sacred about meeting God before the sun fully rises. In that quiet, where the world is still finding its rhythm, your soul already begins to sing. You are not rushed, not watched, not judged, just held in grace, in purpose, in divine intention. And that's where strength begins to grow in silence. When you open your heart in those first moments, the Holy Spirit begins to rearrange what's been misaligned. He brings clarity to confusion and stillness to restlessness. The voices that competed for your peace begin to quiet, and in their place comes a whisper from heaven. I am here. That whisper changes everything. You may not know what the day will bring, but God already sees it in full. Every interruption, every phone call, every challenge, and every joy, He has walked ahead of you. Prayer is not about avoiding the unknown. It's about partnering with the One who knows it all. You walk lighter because He carries what you can't, and you face the day with courage because love walks beside you. Let this be your rhythm. Wake, breathe, pray. Let this be your declaration. I will not be owned by the chaos. I will begin my day with peace, and I will protect that peace like sacred fire. I will not bow to distraction when I have access to the throne of grace, and I will not start with fear when I can start with faith. Even 5 minutes of prayer can shift the direction of your day, not because of the length, but because of the surrender. Surrender makes room for the supernatural. It takes the hands off the steering wheel and says, Lord, you drive. And when He drives, detours become divine appointments. Your body may be tired, but your spirit can still rise. Prayer does not wait for ideal conditions. It creates them. It takes what little you offer and multiplies it into more than enough. That's the miracle of the morning. You show up with a flicker, and God responds with fire. There are some mornings where tears speak louder than words. And that's okay. God doesn't need sentences when He can interpret sighs. He hears the ache and moves in compassion. He surrounds you, not with answers but with presence. And that is the answer. When you pray first, you stop reacting and start responding. You respond to people from peace, not pressure. You respond to problems from wisdom, not panic. You become someone who carries stillness even in stormy places. Because peace is no longer around you, it's inside you. God honors the prayer that comes before the plan. He guides those who seek before they step. And even if you're unsure of the next move, He becomes the lamp that lights the way. One step at a time, one prayer at a time. Prayer reminds you of eternity in the middle of your temporary. It keeps your heart rooted when your circumstances are shifting. It helps you hold what matters and release what doesn't. It slows down your racing thoughts, so truth can be heard, and it strengthens your soul without needing applause. You are never too busy to pray. You are too busy not to. Without prayer, your heart becomes scattered. Without prayer, your strength is borrowed from the world instead of heaven. But with prayer, you draw from a well that never runs dry, and you walk with the one who never grows weary. Don't worry if your prayer isn't beautiful. Sincerity is the fragrance that moves heaven. Speak from where you are. Whisper if you have to. Cry if you must. God receives it all with the gentleness of a father and the wisdom of a king. This is not just how you start your day. It's how you start a new way of living. Living in awareness of His presence. Living in agreement with His purpose. Living in peace, no matter the pressure. Because prayer doesn't just prepare you for the day. It transforms how you experience it. And as you close your eyes, breathe deep, and speak His name, remember, He was already waiting. He's never late. He's never distracted. He's never distant. He is always near, always listening, always ready to walk with you. The moment your eyes open and you invite God in, you reclaim authority over your day. You are no longer a passive receiver of life's chaos. You become an active partner in peace. You aren't just waking up, you are rising in spiritual posture, and from that posture, clarity begins to flow like light through morning fog. This is how strong days begin, not with control but with communion. In the stillness of dawn, the Holy Spirit begins to whisper answers you didn't even know you needed. He doesn't shout, but He reveals. He doesn't rush, but He prepares. He moves through every breath you surrender and every thought you release. And by the time the world begins to stir, your soul has already been filled. Sometimes the weight you carry feels invisible to others, but fully known by God. Prayer is where you lay it all down without having to explain it perfectly. It's where you bring the mess without needing to fix it first. And it's where your burdens are exchanged for rest. That sacred exchange is the very heartbeat of grace. Let the Spirit be the first one you talk to. Not your worries, not your calendar, not your inner critic. When God is your first conversation, your inner world aligns with His truth. Anxiety loses its grip. Discouragement is confronted with divine perspective. And even before coffee, you begin to feel whole again. Every faithful morning becomes a foundation for spiritual momentum. Each quiet yes to prayer becomes a brick in the house of trust. You're building with God. That house stands firm in storms. It resists the winds of fear, criticism, and doubt. And it shelters your mind when life gets loud. There is no formula required for your prayers to be heard. You don't need the right words. You just need the right heart. One turned upward, one yielded, one honest. That is what reaches heaven. Not performance, but present. You were not created to live in reaction. You were designed to respond in wisdom. Prayer is how you anchor yourself in the Spirit before anything else has a chance to pull you off course. It guards your emotions and shields your intentions. It reminds you that peace isn't something to chase. It's someone you already have. And when you pray first, you walk in that truth all day long. Even when life doesn't slow down, you still can. Prayer is a pause that doesn't waste time. It restores it. It's the stillness that produces clarity. It's the interruption that saves you from self-destruction. And it's the rhythm that reconnects you to divine strength. God doesn't demand perfection from your morning. He desires your attention. He wants to hear your voice. He delights in your turning toward Him, even with trembling hands. And He meets you right where you are, not where you think you should be. That is the goodness of His mercy each new day. Prayer breaks the agreement with fear. It silences the echo of defeat. It lifts your eyes from problems to promises. And it positions your soul to receive, not strive. This is why it's worth beginning every day in the secret place. What starts as 5 minutes in God's presence often turns into a day, guided by His Spirit. Because prayer plants seeds that keep growing long after Amen. It makes space for miracles to unfold in ordinary moments. It draws divine favor into situations you thought were hopeless. And it reveals that God's hand has been on you all along. Your morning prayer is an act of war against discouragement. It's a declaration that you are not available to despair. It is a reminder to your soul that you have access to heaven's resources, and that you are loved, covered, and sent with purpose. Nothing can stand against a child of God who begins with Him. The people around you may never know the depth of your private prayers, but they'll feel the fruit. They'll sense the peace you carry. They'll be impacted by the wisdom you walk in. They'll wonder where your strength comes from, and you'll smile, knowing you started your day face to face with the King. Let this morning be different, not because of what happens externally, but because of what you've welcomed internally. You've welcomed light. You've welcomed truth. You've welcomed God Himself. And because of that, this day will not be ordinary. There's a doorway you step through when you choose to pray first, a threshold between distraction and divine focus. On one side, the weight of responsibility presses against your chest. On the other, the breath of heaven lifts your soul. With every whispered word, you shift from panic to peace. And in that shift, you are reminded that you are never walking alone. Prayer is where identity is restored before the world mislabels you. It is where the voice of the Father speaks louder than your fears. Before expectations scream, God's voice stills the waters. He calls you beloved before you're asked to perform. And that one truth quiets 100 lies. Some days, prayer feels like climbing. Other days, it's simply resting. But whether you're rising or sinking, God holds you just the same. He does not grade your prayers, He gathers them. He stores your cries in heaven's jars and responds in perfect timing. You are allowed to show up weak. You are allowed to come empty. The strength you need is not found within yourself, but in the God who fills what is surrendered. He does not require you to feel holy, only to be honest. That is the threshold where transformation begins. Let no voice tell you that prayer is wasted breath. Each word spoken in faith is a seed in God's hands. And the ground may look barren today, but growth is already happening beneath. What you offer in silence now will one day bloom in peace, in wisdom, in unshakable joy. God is never idle with what you entrust to Him. When the morning becomes your altar, everything changes. Decisions become discernment. Plans become purpose. Movement becomes mission. And interruptions become invitations to grace. The world wants you to move faster, speak louder, do more. But the Spirit says, be still and know. Not be loud and prove. Not be busy and worthy. Just be still. In stillness, you remember who is God. Before you solve the problem, pray. Before you respond to the text, pause. Before you rehearse the worry, release it. Prayer gives you back control by surrendering it to the only one who can carry it rightly. It breaks the cycle of overthinking with divine simplicity. Sometimes all you need is one sentence to shift your morning. Lord, go before me. That one prayer, offered sincerely, sets angels in motion. It realigns your heart and resets your focus. It places your feet on solid ground, even when emotions tremble. And it invites heaven into earth's rhythm. When you pray first, you make space for wisdom to speak before impulse acts. You create margin for grace to move. You create room for miracles. And you silence the lie that you are alone. God has never been far, just quiet, waiting to be invited in. The beginning of your day is the beginning of your authority. When you choose to stand in the presence of God before standing before man, something holy happens. You don't just enter the day, you are sent into it. You don't just face the world, you carry the presence of the one who overcame it. And because of that, nothing is the same. Let your morning not just be a moment of prayer, but a river that flows into your entire day. Let it guide your decisions, your tone, your timing. Let it fill the spaces where insecurity lingers. Let it light up the places where doubt once lived. Let your morning prayer ripple outward into miracles. The strength of the saints was never in their strategies, but in their stillness. David prayed, Daniel prayed, Esther fasted and prayed. Jesus himself rose early and sought the Father. If he needed prayer, how much more do we? So today, let your first breath be holy. Let your first thoughts be turned toward heaven. Let your soul stretch before your schedule starts. Let your spirit rise before your feet even touch the ground. You are not behind. You are becoming. The more you return to God first, the more natural it becomes to live from rest. Instead of striving, what once felt like a discipline slowly becomes a desire. You begin to crave His presence more than your routine. And in that craving, you begin to find your true self again. Not the rushed version, the redeemed one. The quiet time you offer God is not lost time. It is invested eternity. Nothing poured into prayer returns empty. The peace you feel later in the afternoon was planted in your morning. The words you speak in wisdom were formed in stillness. The strength you show in trials was built in those sacred, unseen moments. Every prayer you whisper becomes part of a bigger story, a testimony in the making. You are not just praying for today's peace. You are sowing into future clarity, healing, and breakthrough. God works in the layers of time we cannot see. He weaves your morning offerings into blessings not yet born. And when the season shifts, you will know why He had you pray first. Let nothing steal your first moments with God. Not notifications, not noise, not your own inner storm. If you give Him the beginning, He will cover the rest. You don't need to predict the day when you walk with the one who wrote it. You don't need to control it when you've already surrendered it. And that surrender becomes your covering. Some prayers feel empty, but feelings are not facts. Heaven is not silent just because you don't feel the response. Your prayer is heard, your voice matters, and your faith is doing more than you can see right now. In a world that tells you to achieve, perform, and push, God tells you to come. He says, "Come to me, all who are weary." He doesn't say, "Come perfect," just come. And in your coming, He exchanges pressure for peace. He becomes your anchor before the waves even rise. There is something sacred about being unseen in your faithfulness. No one may witness your prayers but God. No one may hear your worship in the dark, but heaven hears every note. These quiet mornings build unseen altars in your life. And from those altars, fire will fall in time. Let your home be a sanctuary, even if just for a moment each morning. Create a space where God's presence is welcome, where your spirit can breathe. A corner, a chair, a whisper in the kitchen. It doesn't matter the location. What matters is the invitation, and God always comes when He's invited. Do not underestimate the power of your consistency. Mountains are moved one quiet prayer at a time. Storms are stilled with steady trust. Battles are won in hidden places, and peace takes root in the lives of those who plant early. Some mornings you'll feel the Spirit strong, others you'll simply be faithful. Both are sacred. Both build your walk. Both carry weight in heaven, and both will leave you changed. Prayer is how you speak your future into alignment with God's will. You declare truth before the day has a chance to lie to you. You command peace before pressure can take over. You walk with authority instead of fear, and that is the beauty of beginning with Him. Let this be a daily altar where your soul bows before your schedule, where your heart surrenders before it is pulled in 10 directions, where God is first, not out of obligation, but devotion, and where your day becomes holy, simply because He was invited into it first. That is the blessing of a life marked by prayer. There is no wrong way to come before the Lord. Come broken, come unsure, come tired, just come. He will meet you every time, and He will walk with you from that first breath until the final light of day. So take this moment again, not just as habit but as holy intention. Let heaven hear your voice before the world does. Let your eyes rise before your hands reach. Let your soul be filled before your time is spent. God is here and He is waiting. Sometimes the most powerful shift you'll ever experience begins with one quiet breath in God's direction. Not a long speech, not a perfect verse, just a moment where you turn your heart upward. That single act says, God, you are first, and all of heaven leans closer to hear your soul speak. Because faith doesn't begin in grand gestures, it begins in small, surrendered whispers. When you invite God into your morning, you are telling your fear that it doesn't get the final word. You are placing your thoughts under new leadership. You are surrendering your pace for His peace. You are exchanging control for covering, and you are learning to move slower, deeper, and with more divine focus. There is no shame in needing help to begin again today. Grace was made for mornings like this, fresh, abundant, and already waiting for you. You don't have to fix everything before entering God's presence. You just have to be willing to open the door, and the moment you do, healing walks in. Prayer isn't a task on your list. It's the atmosphere of your life. It changes how you hear, how you think, how you respond. It gives you room to feel without being consumed. It gives your day a backbone made of faith, and it reminds your heart of what matters most before the noise begins. Let every morning become your revival. Let your own voice become the sound that wakes your spirit before the world does. Let God's promises be louder than your problems. Let His light reach you before anxiety does. And in doing so, let the Spirit carry you into purpose. You are not just praying, you are building spiritual momentum. Every yes to prayer is a silent declaration to the enemy that you are grounded in truth. Every pause for God is a rejection of chaos. Every whisper to heaven is a recentering of your soul. And every morning you show up, your roots grow deeper. Even if your prayers feel simple, they are sacred. Lord, help me, be near, go with me. These are not weak words. They are doorways to divine strength. You may not see it, but prayer is softening the hardened places in your life. It's loosening the grip of stress. It's preparing conversations you haven't had yet. It's calming storms you don't even know are coming. And it's wrapping you in wisdom and protection. The same Spirit that hovered over the waters now hovers over your day when you invite Him in. He breathes over the chaos and brings form. He covers your mind with clarity. He guards your heart with gentleness. And He stays longer than you realize, working beyond what you can see. What happens in your spirit each morning shapes how you lead, love, and live. You start to notice things others miss: grace, beauty, divine interruptions. You become more patient, more present, more aligned. You carry peace like oil dripping into tense rooms, and your presence becomes a reflection of His. When you kneel before God in the morning, you won't have to bow before pressure in the afternoon. You've already declared who you belong to. You've already invited the King to walk beside you, and because of that, you walk lighter, even through heaviness. That's the quiet authority of the prayerful. No matter what yesterday held, disappointment, anxiety, regret, today is untouched. It is holy ground, a fresh beginning drenched in mercy, a canvas waiting for praise, not panic. And you get to decide what marks it first. Your emotions may not always cooperate, but obedience doesn't require perfect feelings, just faithful steps. Just come, just whisper, just let your morning be the moment God becomes bigger than your concerns. And let that moment echo through everything you do today. This is how faith is built, morning by morning, prayer by prayer, choice by choice. You don't need loud music or fancy words. You need willingness. You need stillness. And you need the courage to make God first, again and again. There is sacred power in choosing to seek God before the day unfolds. That decision opens the heavens before your schedule opens your phone. It gives your soul a chance to breathe before the demands start pulling. In that moment of surrender, divine alignment begins. And once heaven is invited, no chaos can truly take over. Your first words don't have to be profound, they just need to be placed in His hands. Good morning, Lord. I need you today. That alone can shift atmospheres. That alone welcomes peace. And peace, is always the greatest preparation. The enemy wants your day to start with distraction, a racing heart, a clouded mind, a rush of urgency. But the Spirit leads you into something gentler. He leads you into presence, not panic. He covers you in clarity before confusion finds its voice. And that covering stays longer than you realize. When you pray first, you lead your day instead of chasing it. You anchor yourself in identity before insecurity has a chance to speak. You stand tall in grace before fear crouches at the door. You clothe yourself in righteousness before stress clothes you in false burdens. And you carry the fragrance of heaven into every space. Even on days when it's hard to feel faith, showing up is worship. Your presence is a prayer. Your silence is heard. Your reaching is enough. And God draws near not because of performance but because of love. The stories we read in Scripture all began with someone who paused, who listened, who turned aside. Moses turned toward the burning bush. Hannah cried in the temple before breakthrough. David wrote his way through pain in the quiet of mourning. Jesus himself withdrew before the crowds ever formed. Every great move of God began with a quiet yes in prayer. Do not despise the small beginnings of your faithfulness. A whispered thank you can echo in eternity. A 5-minute pause can unlock a day's worth of peace. A heart bowed in humility invites angelic assistance. And the moments you think are invisible are always recorded in the heart of God. Let no guilt enter your prayers. Prayer is not a place to prove your worth. It's a place to receive it. It's not a place to hide your weakness. It's a place to be held in it. And your Heavenly Father isn't grading your words. He's listening for your heart. That alone is enough. When you make prayer your foundation, you don't just build a better day, you build a better life. One that's rooted in truth, not trends. One that's guided by wisdom, not worry. One that's shaped by spirit, not speed. And one that withstands storms because it's anchored in what cannot be shaken. Let your prayer today be this: God, lead me deeper than I've ever gone. Pull me into peace that makes no sense. Silence every voice that doesn't sound like you. Fill me with power that doesn't come from me, and let my steps echo the sound of heaven. As you pray this, believe that heaven hears you. Angels are assigned, peace is planted, grace begins moving on your behalf. And though the results may not be instant, the impact always begins immediately. You may not feel it now, but a life that starts with prayer ends in victory. Every time. Not always in the way you expect, but always in the way your soul needs. God is faithful to those who seek Him, and He never overlooks a heart that starts the day on its knees. So rise with purpose, walk with power, and let every step carry the residue of your quiet time. Let others feel the peace you carry. Let your decisions reflect the wisdom you received in prayer. Let your joy be sourced in heaven, and let your soul whisper all day, I prayed first, and that made all the difference. Every time you begin with God, you are refusing to be mastered by the demands of the world. You are drawing a holy line in the sand that says, God leads here. You are declaring with your breath, before I serve anyone, I bow to you. And in that simple act, heaven draws near and favor flows. The sacred overtakes the ordinary. Prayer is the first gate you walk through into your day, and it decides what follows. If you enter with fear, fear multiplies. If you enter with gratitude, joy follows. But if you enter with God, everything that enters after must pass through His peace. That is why the beginning matters so much. When you pray before you plan, you surrender your agenda to the divine author. You offer Him your hopes, your questions, your concerns. You let Him touch your expectations and rewrite what needs softening. And sometimes, He doesn't give you answers, He gives you strength instead. Enough strength to trust, even in the not yet. God isn't impressed by busy hearts. He's drawn to available ones. He isn't looking for perfection in your prayers, just permission to move. Every time you pause to seek Him, you give Him space to fill your emptiness with wisdom. You open a door to possibility, and that door leads to peace, even if the path is still unknown. There are blessings that only bloom in the soil of early prayer, insights that rise only when your spirit is still, breakthroughs that begin in whispered surrender, direction that only comes when distraction is laid aside. and God's voice. It's clearest before the day clutters your ears. When you begin your day in prayer, you are not just speaking, you are aligning your energy, your words, your pace with heaven's rhythm. You start to move slower, but stronger. You stop reacting and begin responding, and your presence becomes more rooted than rushed. Even in days full of noise and movement, your inner stillness can remain untouched. If you guard it with prayer, it becomes your secret place, your sanctuary inside the storm, a calm you can return to at any moment, a clarity that cannot be stolen by circumstance. That stillness is a result of starting with God. Your spiritual muscles are built in these quiet rituals. Every morning, you show up, your spirit grows more stable. You start to carry authority not from volume, but from alignment. Your words carry weight because they've been refined in silence. Your eyes begin to see beyond what's visible. What you start in prayer becomes sustained by grace. It's not your effort that carries the day, it's the wind of God beneath your surrender. He doesn't need you to be perfect, just present. And if you keep showing up, He will keep showing you who you are in Him. Prayer reveals identity even before it solves problems. Don't let a single day go by where heaven isn't invited first. Not 1 hour where peace isn't pursued before pressure. Not one morning where silence isn't tasted before sound. This rhythm of God first is how you build a legacy of faith. And legacies don't start loud, they start early. The enemy hopes you forget this. Hopes your scroll becomes louder than your soul. But the Spirit waits for you to come back to what matters. Waits with open arms and quiet power. Waits for you to say again, Lord, I'm here. This moment, this rhythm, this choice to pray first will shape who you become. It will shape how you lead, how you love, how you listen. It will restore what stress tried to steal. It will rebuild what fear tried to crumble. Because everything that begins in God finishes in grace. So here, in this sacred breath, remember why you started. Not out of routine, but out of reverence. Not to check a box, but to open your soul. Not to perform, but to return. And in your returning, you will find rest. This morning, as your eyes open and your heart stirs, know that you are not alone. The very breath in your lungs is proof that God has chosen you to rise again. He has appointed this day for purpose. Even if you can't see it yet, His presence has already gone before you, and His mercy has already wiped away the weight of yesterday. Before the world makes a single demand of you, let your soul whisper the most important invitation. God, be first today. Not just first in time, but first in priority, first in thought, first in affection. Let Him have the first word and the final authority. Because when God leads, peace follows. And where peace walks, miracles are never far behind. The distractions will try to rush you. The lies will try to crowd your mind. But there is safety in slowing down with God. There is clarity in beginning with prayer. And there is power in giving heaven your first and best. As the light breaks through your window, let a new light break through your spirit. Let God's love flood every corner of your day before anything else has a chance to settle there. Let prayer shape your posture, your tone, your perspective. Let it dig a well so deep that no fear can fill it, and let joy bubble up from the depths of that well. You may not have all the answers, but you have access to the one who does. You may not know the path, but you can trust the guide. You may feel weak, but you are wrapped in strength. You may be trembling, but His hands are steady, and when you place your morning in His hands, He places His peace in your heart. This is not just about forming a habit, it's about forming a sanctuary, a place where heaven meets earth in your living room, in your car, in your kitchen, a space where stress bows to surrender, a moment where fear gives way to faith, and a rhythm where your soul learns how to breathe again. When you rise early and pray, you are sowing seeds into soil you haven't seen yet. You are watering what you cannot name. You are preparing for fruit that others may enjoy. You are becoming the kind of person who leads with light, and that light never goes unnoticed by God. There will be days when it feels like nothing is changing. Pray anyway. Days when silence answers your prayers. Keep praying. Days when doubt sits heavy on your chest. Open your mouth in truth. Days when the enemy mocks your faith. Lift your eyes higher, for every battle you fight begins in prayer, and every victory is won in trust. It may not happen in the first prayer or the 10th, but something always shifts in the soul that refuses to stop returning. Something gets planted, something gets healed, something gets delivered, and it all begins when you pray first. You are not weak for needing God. You are wise. You are not slow for pausing. You are spiritually aware. You are not falling behind. You are being held back by grace, so you can move forward in power. You are not empty. You are being made ready, and prayer is the process that aligns your heart with all of heaven's timing. Even now, there are angels moving because of your simple yes. There are doors being prepared that will open at the sound of your voice. There are burdens being lifted because of your whispered surrender. There is strength rising, hope stirring, peace forming, and it all started because you chose to pray. So don't stop, not when it's quiet, not when it's hard, not when it feels pointless, because prayer is never wasted, and God never ignores a heart that meets Him in the morning. This is your life now, not hurried, but holy, not frantic, but focused, not driven by fear, but directed by faith. You have become someone who begins with God, and because of that, you will walk in peace. There is a quiet strength forming inside you, born not from striving but from surrender. It's not the strength of the world, loud and forceful. It's sacred, silent, and rooted. It forms every time you kneel before anything else calls your name. Every time you choose stillness before motion. Every time your lips move in prayer before your hands move in action. God delights in meeting you in that secret space, the hidden place where your soul unfolds without performance. He sees the tears you don't explain, the fears you don't post about, the longings you only whisper in the dark. And He answers not always with noise but always with nearness. His presence becomes the reply. There are no wasted mornings when they begin with God. Even if your words feel weak or distracted, He cherishes every syllable. He counts each moment of attention as devotion. He multiplies even a mustard seed of time sown in faith. And what you begin in humility, He crowns with purpose. As the world tries to rush you into decisions, let prayer be your delay, a holy hesitation that says, I will not move without hearing from heaven. That posture unlocks wisdom that outlasts trends. That patience reveals insight others overlook. And that delay leads to divine direction. You don't need perfect focus to be heard. You don't need poetic language to be understood. You don't need a full plan to be guided. You just need a sincere heart. And your sincerity has already moved God. Let this be your rhythm. Rise, return, release. Rise to meet the morning. Return to the arms of your Father. Release the weight of what's ahead into His care. Let your soul find this rhythm, and you'll never walk into chaos unarmed again. You'll carry stillness as your shield. God has given you the authority to change atmospheres, and prayer is how you wield it. Every word you speak in alignment with His will becomes a sword. Every breath you surrender becomes a wind of transformation. Every yes to Him disarms the plans of the enemy. And every prayer spoken in faith shakes what was meant to stay stuck. This is not just morning prayer. This is morning war, fought in peace. It's spiritual strategy dressed in simplicity. It's heavenly power wrapped in earthly time. It's eternal impact made in 5 quiet minutes. And those minutes are rewriting your day. You are not the same person you were when you started seeking Him first. Something inside you has softened and strengthened. You've stopped needing applause to feel worthy. You've started needing silence to feel whole. And the more you begin with God, the more you live like Him. Let others wonder why you seem anchored when the winds rise. Let them ask where your confidence comes from. And let your answer always be, I prayed first. Because that confession holds power. It tells the truth of where your strength begins. Keep coming back, not just when life breaks, but when life blooms. Not just when you're afraid, but when you're grateful. Not just in confusion, but in clarity. Because God doesn't just want your emergencies. He wants your everyday, and He's waiting to meet you again tomorrow. The altar isn't always made of stone. Sometimes it's your coffee table, your bathroom mirror, your steering wheel. It's wherever your heart turns toward Him, And every altar you build in prayer becomes holy ground. You begin to walk through life barefoot, aware, reverent, covered, because your steps are now sacred. Don't forget the strength you've cultivated in these quiet beginnings. When the day presses in, reach for the place you started. When anxiety rises, return to that first word you offered him. When confusion surrounds you, speak the same truth you began with. God be first, and in that return, he will meet you again. The beauty of beginning in prayer is that it doesn't just change your day, it changes you. It doesn't just shape your responses, it reshapes your heart. Every whispered surrender draws you closer to God's original design for you. You become less anxious and more anchored, less hurried and more holy. Heaven honors consistency, not perfection. And every morning you show up, even when it's quiet, you're building a history with God, a secret place history where the roots go deep, a legacy that isn't visible yet. But one day it will bloom where others can see, because those who meet with God in secret are rewarded in strength. There's something sacred about choosing to speak to God before anyone else hears your voice. It sets your tone, it centers your spirit, it tells your soul who's in charge of this day. Not the deadlines, not the opinions, but the Lord of all people. Every time you pray first, you're reminding yourself that you're not in control, and that's the safest place to be. God knows the path. He knows the detours. He knows what you're carrying and what you can't yet name. And he's not overwhelmed by any of it. As you lift your thoughts to him each morning, he meets you with more than answers. He meets you with himself. His presence is the provision. His nearness is the peace. His whisper becomes your compass. And suddenly, you can breathe again. You might not always feel different the moment you pray, but over time, prayer transforms what nothing else could. It chisels away pride, it strengthens what's soft, it opens what was closed, and it builds a new kind of resilience, one rooted in grace. The world trains you to act first. Speak fast, run hard, but the kingdom teaches you to pause, to listen, to begin with God. And in that reversal, miracles begin. You become light in darkness. You carry calm into chaos. Don't underestimate what happens when you give God your first breath. That moment of surrender plants seeds in the soil of eternity. That space between silence and speech is where heaven breathes on earth. You are not wasting time. You are investing in peace. You are drawing your power from the source. When you feel rushed, return to the rhythm of stillness. When you feel unseen, remember the one who waits each morning. When you feel unsure, lift your eyes to the one who has never failed you. Let your emotions settle in the shadow of his wings. Let your direction be set by his voice. There is no shame in beginning again. Even if you missed a day, or a week, or a season, God is still waiting. His mercy is fresh, not recycled. His love is not based on streaks. It's based on presence. So take this moment and remember, you are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where he can meet you. And when you begin here, everything shifts from striving to trust, because prayer is not a task, it is your return home. Let this be your rhythm going forward. Before you check your phone, check your spirit. Before you answer the world, answer heaven's call. Before you step into responsibility, step into his presence. Before you face the noise, sit in the quiet. And before anything else, always pray first. Your mornings are becoming sacred, not because they are quiet, but because you've chosen to fill them with God. That's what makes them powerful. That's what makes you strong. Not what you do, but where you begin. And when you begin with him, you never walk alone. This final moment is not an ending, but a holy beginning. You've come this far because your soul is learning where strength truly lives. You didn't just listen, you responded. You gave your morning to God, and he has given you back peace. What started as a whisper is now a divine alignment. Every day from now on, may this be your pattern. Begin with heaven. Begin with stillness. Begin with hope. Begin with the one who holds your breath in his hand. And let every first word you speak remind darkness that you belong to the light. You will face trials, but you will never face them unarmed. You will walk through valleys, but you will never walk through them alone. You will feel pressed by burdens, but never crushed by them. You will bend under pressure, but not break beneath it, because you've learned to bow before you battle. And in bowing, you've been crowned, not with gold, but with grace, not with power, but with presence, not with applause, but with anointing. You wear the fragrance of morning mercy. Heaven rejoices not because you prayed perfectly, but because you returned faithfully. You chose God first, and He will honor that order. You chose prayer over panic, silence over scrolling, worship over worry. Let others wake up with urgency. You will wake up with peace. Let others rush. You will rise. Let others lean into fear. You will lean into the arms of God. This is how you live now, rooted, rested, ready. If ever you feel far from this moment, you only need to return. God hasn't moved. The invitation hasn't expired. The quiet space is still waiting. The throne room never closes. Let your mornings be your sanctuary, a place where wounds are washed in worship, where doubts dissolve in truth, where your plans yield to purpose, and where your heart beats in time with eternity. You are not behind. You are chosen, not forgotten, but pursued, not unseen, but intimately known. And every time you choose to pray first, you are stepping into your divine identity again. You are walking in your rightful place as a child of the King. Let this final breath of prayer mark you today, like oil on your forehead. Let it cover you in divine protection. Let it remind you that you are never walking alone. Let it declare over you, this day belongs to the Lord, and you will walk in it with confidence. So rise gently, beloved. Move through this day with grace. Let your words be seasoned by prayer. Let your actions flow from peace, and let your heart remain anchored in the one you began with. You are ready now, not because everything is perfect, but because you remembered to begin with God. That is enough. That is everything. That is your power. That is your peace. Amen.